our mill levy is broken down into three different portions. We have general fund, okay, general operations. We have the library, and then we have debt service, okay, bond and interest. Well, our mill rate in bond and interest will actually go down this year, because we retired another, or we will retire in October of this year, a general obligation bond. So from a mill rate levy, based on the valuations, we're proposing a 5.118 mils versus today's 5.33. So a reduction in the mill rate there. The library mill rate, years ago, a charter ordinance was passed that they would not exceed 8 mils. We've been at 7.951 is the mill rate. In order for our library to qualify for the state funds and grants, which last year's grant amounted to $5,500 that they received in additional support for the library, we have to either collect more dollars, which will create a problem on the, not a problem, just requires the hearing for the revenue neutral rate. Or if we can hold the same mill levy percentage, they will still qualify. The way this draft budget has been put together, they will qualify for the grant funding, okay? We'll be maintaining the 7.951 mils. For the general fund, as you go through there, the additional investments in planning and zoning and the fire department, there was a little more needed for the police department. You have a copy of it. Right now, as we said, if the mill levy would be 66.483 against today's 58.666. I've included for you what that impact would be, and basically on a $100,000 house, it'll be $89.39 a year additional property taxes. Okay? So this evening, I guess I need to explain a little bit more as clarifications come out. If we elect to go the path where we send the county clerk by July 20th that we're going to exceed or likely exceed our revenue neutral rate, then we'll hold a hearing between July 24th and August 24th, somewhere in there. Then we'll pass and file a budget by October 1st. When we send the notification, and let's say for example, we sent a notification right now that says we're going to, the possibility exceeds that we would go to 79,552. We're not bound to that number. We can move down from that number anytime before we adopt the final budget. If we were to bring the mill rate back down to the 58.666, we need to take $80,000 out of the general fund in one of two ways: either increase revenues or decrease expenditures. But if we bring that back to the 58.66, there still exists the possibility we would exceed the 71 mils that's been set as our revenue neutral rate. Okay. Along with that, some of the things that, I guess I'll call them the headwinds that we're facing. The macro economy right now is throwing some challenges our way. Right now, the Federal Reserve's estimating the inflation factor this year to be 3.4%. That was the latest information I could get. The fuel prices and our expenditures on fuel has increased by 36% so far this year. We're not sure where petroleum's going. With the petroleum going up, we are seeing increases in supply. The 2.5-inch PVC that we were buying for $2.87 a foot for the electrical underground that allowed us to move to bid. Our last order cost us $5.35 per foot. We received a 10% increase notice for all chemicals and gases used by our water plant for sanitation. It's across the board. The letter just says everything's going up 10%. We're starting to see the future pricing on wood is coming back down, but for example, when we were originally putting together the 12.5, I was using a $40 to $60 per pole cost. Right now it's $375 per pole. If I hold off on buying them, because July and August futures continue to come down, I'm sure we'll get it back in the 150 range, somewhere in that point. Okay? And the league has reported to us that the experts are estimating a 5.3% increase in health coverage costs and similar increases in liability insurance for the. So to bring the mill levy back down, we can reduce the planned expenditures on commodities for the departments. We could reduce services, programs, or investments. We could reduce staffing levels. We can increase the revenues from fees or services, or we can increase a transfer from the utilities to assist with the general fund. I think right now we need to come back to you all. Just wanted the first draft to be put together so you see, I hate to use the wish list term, but what everybody discussed when we were together for the budget workshop, I put those numbers in here, okay? And that's where we would be. I will share with you on the revenue estimates in general fund, I've taken the conservative route. I did not project increases because I'm not sure how quickly people are gonna get back to renting like this building and other. I mean, we're seeing the economy start to grow, but right now it's in food, fuel, things like that. And we're not seeing it so much in the recreational or family-based activity. I wanted to, in your packets, I had shared with you just a quick analysis of labor costs compared to the total cost for departments. And, you know, like our housing department, our cost, it's 100% labor that we support there. Our library's 88%, and the police department's 88.96%. So there's not a lot of, well, we can cut this out, okay? Museums at 72% payroll. Community enhancement, the formal rec is at 92%. Court is 78%. Now our utilities, we are anywhere from 41% to 61%. But the utilities produce revenue that's not part of the mill levy equation. From the staff's perspective, of that 80,000, it appears we need to look at revenue growth, look at our projections again, and get somewhere between 35 and 50% of that 80,000 in increased revenues. And then the remainder would have to come out of looking at line item reductions within the departments. Your priorities included streets and infrastructure and so forth. In the proposal that the draft, what we've done, instead of leaving the projects, the 2 streets projects, you'd indicated you wanna continue to do 2 streets each year. The $100,000 there, and then we looked at allocating $50,000 for, chip seal. Tim's gotten some prices on a vendor out of.
Goddard, I believe.
Okay. And so we should be able to do between anywhere from 12 to 18 blocks, depending on where the cost of petroleum moves up. So by moving those over and utilizing the gasoline tax that we get from the state to help fund that project, we didn't add any real pressure to the general. Okay? If you go to the general fund, it should be page 7, should be 7A. Yeah, 7A has most of the expenditures, well, it does have the expenditures. The general fund in 2020, general administration, 335,000. Tiffany and I have been working together, and it looks like we can budget that at 287,866. The sales tax that we pay out of utilities is basic, that's a cost neutral, revenue neutral. We collect it and then we have to pay it out, so straight across there. Housing authority is slightly up, because they've added, maintenance staffing. That also will be reimbursed from Department of Housing and Urban Development. The cemetery number is up considerably, and in that was going to the full-time, adding a full-time cemetery sexton. That leveraged it, and then things like the roof on the, it's not really the office, but at the cemetery, the restroom complex, all of that. Needing some work there. So we've probably got some room there. The city building, 11,906 is what we spent last year, but we didn't have the events in the ballroom or many of them in the basement. We budgeted that at 2,195. The fire department's request came back, 44,445, with an additional 40,000 set aside for a brush truck that will be reimbursed by the fire districts or townships. That's on a separate budget page under the equipment reserves, so that's why it doesn't impact what happens here. The library, in order to keep their mill levy the exact same on the increased valuation, it'll be 81,826. Again, if we do that, that still qualifies them to get the additional $5,500 grant from the state. The museum board had requested the 12.6, same level of support. Parks is at 93,426. Part of that is absorbing an additional employee that formerly was at the ball fields, will be part of our staff moving there. Municipal court, just a slight increase there. Street and alley, going from 197,587 in 2020 up to 232,396. The swimming pool is set now. We have that fixed fee, so we can budget 36,000 there. Economic development, 90,272 last year. Looking to budget 85,110. Planning and zoning. Margot and Terry Jones worked that budget and came back 11,000 versus the 6,000 this year and the 34,99 spent last year. Excuse me. Juvenile intake building, 1,650. That basically covers the cost of utilities and a few little repairs down there. Law enforcement, 344. Last year, this year's 353, and the budget request is 377,890. that's primarily coming in as this year, we scheduled no part-time officers or hours and no overtime pay. So they're a little tight on their operations, they're looking at some flexibility there. The airport, and under the police budget, I also have to commend Aaron and his efforts, and I mean, not only does he do this fundraiser, but he's covering a lot of the expenses for the FEMA, so appreciate your dedication. Airports, 19,211, we spent 21,523 last year, but that we were in the process of obtaining the fueling, the tanks, and the gas pump out there, so that's what bumped us up there. Lease purchase is 100,000, and then the equipment reserve, which is for the police and cruiser and so forth, it's budgeted at 18,286. So I fired a lot of numbers at you. Hopefully you've had a chance to read through them. Utilities, which is our biggest. The proposed budget will keep us with the same level of reserves. This year we're projecting to end at 886,000. Next year we're projecting 883 on reserves. That gives us the 26 weeks of money available to keep the utilities going if there were a disaster. Okay? Last year we ended up with 1,128,000, but at the 883 is a comfortable level to make sure we can take care of emergencies in the house while we're waiting for federal reserve. Okay? Does not project an increase in electric rates. We can keep them the same even with the project and the project payment in there. We do need to adjust the water rate based off partially this project, but our cost to produce the water that we sell for $5.05 for 1,000 gallons, our cost has gone up to $5.04 because of the chemical costs and so forth related to it.
Any questions?
Roger, on page 10, where it shows tractor and blade at 60,000 in the 2022 budget, will that be taken off?
No, we're
Because
postponing this year's, and we're moving that to get the tractor next year. Okay? So that's why it's listed there. Page 10. Right, and part of that 60,000 should be the 40, like we have this year. We're going to work with the drainage board on an additional reimbursement. But net, trying to get 60,000 to upgrade to a tractor that will pull the existing mower that we've got. And Tim wants something that's not held together with baling wire and duct tape. But he is a farmer, so he's used to that. Okay. Patrol vehicle in there, that includes the acquisition of a used cruiser and then a payment on a new one. The bucket truck, that's our lease on that, and that's all the equipment that we pay.
Okay, you said a used cruiser? I thought we were doing a vehicle every other year on the police department. That would be every other year
Right, we got the one
in
chief's
2021.
car, 2020. In 2022, we'll get a used one, and we're paying the payment on the.
That's the oddity that to get, because we have 3 of them with the same mileage, and in order to get on track for the every other year, this is the odd year, and then we'll continue on like we had.
So I guess my ask this evening, and really I'm making a recommendation. Given this first time through, and we have the ability to project that will increase over the revenue neutral rate, hold the hearing, give ourselves a longer timeline to set the budget. Because we can continue to work on this, bring it down, get it as tight as we can, where you all are comfortable with your revenue increases. I mean, right now, in my mind, there's 80,000 between revenue and we've got to balance that teeter-totter and cut any expenses. That still doesn't guarantee us we won't exceed that revenue neutral rate, because our property valuation went up according to what they sent us, $51,899. But they won't set our rate until November, the final assessor's valuation. So it could tweak the percentage. But if we hold the hearing, right, public gets their input, they can ask questions, we can take care of it then. We can always come down from whatever that number we set, and you still will hold the traditional budget hearing, public hearing. So this revenue rate, neutral rate is an additional hearing, where the intent is to explain to the taxpayer, why are we looking, why do we have to increase? Okay? I mean, it's some of the things we talked about, gasoline, tell me where it's gonna end, okay? Where's inflation truly gonna shake out? Okay. But if you desire, we can be back at the next meeting with a budget. You can hold the traditional, we'll do the publications, do the hearing, and adopt the budget by August 23rd. But we were at, the risk there is if with final valuation we exceed the revenue neutral rate of 71 mils, we'll have to do the refunds after it's collected.
We're gonna have, budget discussion next Monday, aren't we? We're saying, we do that,
Next Monday's a holiday, so no, sir,
or
we
it'll
didn't
be
schedule.
Tuesday? Or,
Do you want, we did not plan on one, that's gonna be canceled if you want to.
I will not be there.
did you guys want that,
Our next meeting's on the 12th, we're still ahead of the timeline,
or? Okay.
okay?
Well, if you throw in this extra hearing budget, we would have extended time, is that correct?
That's correct, it goes from August 23rd to October 1st.
On for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Your staff's for that, if you don't mind doing it that way, because we're still dealing with changes on the Senate Bill 13. You know, we're supposed to do a resolution, the League of Kansas Municipalities is still working with the Secretary of State to give us a sample resolution that we're supposed to pass over this new process. So when we come back the 12th, you want us to try to get it where?
Well, I don't have a problem with, waiting until October to file it. I think that's probably wise, we're just kinda gonna, right now, prices are kinda sketchy.
Yeah.
They're still going up, or maybe they might go back down, and we have a better idea of what's going on. At least give us that much time to look at it, so I would prefer to do that.
Okay. Well, we'll come back with the 12th, I'll get with the staff, we'll go through and look at what recommendations or what we could do on reducing expenses or looking at the revenue projections,
Okay.
and see if we can tighten that number up.
Okay.
Okay?
Any,
Thank you, guys.
any other
Staff,
questions?
any of you can speak about this with me.
Okay, number 23, council department staff reports. I would like to, advise the public that the Marion businesses are inviting us to the Marion Can Community Appreciation Night. And that's on July 16th at 5:30 p.m. in Central Park. And it's food, ice cream, and live music, and it's all free, so I'd like to see a lot of us attend that, that's a good deal for us. Did I take some of your thunder, Randy, or?
Nope, you did just fine. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing further, Margo? Quentin?
Nothing further.
Okay, Susan? Tim, you got anything? Tiffany? Roger? Any other counselors?
I have a couple of questions. Darren, I forgot to ask, when are we gonna start this 12-5 project?
That'd be a question
Kind
for
of out
Roger.
of Darren's hands now.
Okay.
I'll meet with James this week. We'll work on the notice to proceed date,
Okay,
and then we have to issue that to the contractor. The reason I need to get with James is we need to start getting the materials purchased, have them shipped here so they're ready before the contractor begins. And along with that, the invoicing, we've gotta set up everything where the bills will go directly to Kansas Power Pool instead of Tiffany having to handle
thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
them.
pass it over. You
What,
didn't
what
give
did,
information,
the
so-
time duration on that, was it 12 months, 15 months, that they said they were gonna complete? I think it was 12,
The
wasn't it?
bid package was 18 months.
Right, but I think
Their
IES told
response-
us, I think their response, they told us between 12 and 15 months for
Right.
completion.
And then I had a question for Randy too. I know the contract with Expedition Wind is up at the end of this month, which is the 30th.
Correct.
Are we gonna close that contract out?
If I was a betting man tonight, I would say probably not before the 30th. The new wind farm people were here a week ago. They are very interested in the property as their operation and maintenance center, as was Expedition Wind. But in terms of them doing their own assessment of the building and the property that they seek, I don't see that coming together in the next 2 days.
And my next question was, do we get to keep the earnest money that Expedition Wind is putting in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, we need to get that building.
Yes.
Anyone else? Anything? Public forum, anyone wish to address the council in public forum? There being none, I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.